Welcome to Africa in Harlem live from the village of Harlem. I'm East. We are very honored today to have with us Imam Barry, who is the Imam at the Harlem Hospital. Maybe before we get into Ramadan, can you tell us what your role is at Harlem Hospital? Because I assume that you're not really leading prayers there.
Thank you for inviting me. I say assalamu alaikum to all the brothers and sisters who are listening. So my role as an imam at the hospital is to help people access their spiritual needs. Most of the hospitals have clergy members from the Christian faith, from the Jewish faith, from the Muslim faith. So the clergy is in the hospital because it is believed that spirituality is part of the healthcare system. Mm-hmm. So it's really helping people access their spiritual need, because this is where life begins and this is where life ends. So the faith is part of the well-being of all humans. So that's really kind of what we do. For those people who give birth, we call azan on the ear of the baby. So for those other patients, also babies, we also give the name of the baby. There are babies who stay in the hospital for sometimes more than a week or 2 weeks or 1 month. So we are there to provide that spiritual need, those rituals, to call the azan and also to give a name to the baby. So for those other patients who are on the floors, like I said, faith is part of the well-being of all humans. So sometimes they need some spiritual support, and they need someone to listen to them. They need something that is related to their faith. So they need someone to talk to hear them. Sometimes there is a conflict between the hospital policy or the state laws and their religious practices. So we are kind of the broker between the hospital and those families. Also, there are people who need a Quran to read. Sometimes they need a rug to pray. Sometimes they just want someone to remind them about the Quran. So also there are people who are at the end of life issues. There are ethical issues involved, like the DNR, do not resuscitate or do not intubate. So they want to know what your faith says about it. They just don't want to violate your culture or violate your faith. So it's also the role of the imam to be there, to discuss with the family and also to discuss with the hospital staff what Islam says. Can they remove the machine? Can they leave the machine? So there is a lot. Sometimes after death, when the patient dies, we help facilitate the funeral process, whether it is a baby, whether it is an adult. So there is a lot to do. Also, we do community outreach. The clergy is really needed. And I can say, unfortunately, the Muslim clergy is missing around the table because of the lack of education, or sometimes we don't know that it is there.
Let's go now to Ramadan. Usually when Ramadan starts, millions of Muslims gather in mosque where they pray together, where they break fast together. So it's a time that many of us are waiting for, right? We are happy to see this brotherhood and sisterhood. But unfortunately, this year with coronavirus, people are isolated.
Yes, I understand your point. People are kind of grieving. They miss the community. They miss gatherings, to be together, eating together, praying together, which is part of Ramadan. But in that sense, what I want to remind people is, Ramadan is one of the pillars of Islam. So all the pillars of Islam, the purpose is to come back to the origin, to come back to the center. When I say origin, is to come back to our Creator. This is type of a month of reconciliation. And when I say reconciliation, is to reconcile with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who created us, and to reconcile with yourself, your own personality, and to reconcile with your family, to reconcile with your neighbors. So I can say whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does, He knows why He's doing it. And I think this month we are really fasting the Ramadan of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Because yes, in those late years, 10, 15, 20 years, I think either in Senegal or in Guinea, if we do remember, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, people used to fast at home and pray at home with their family members. So those gatherings really, they started lately. We didn't witness this before. So the time of the Prophet ﷺ, we need to remember he didn't pray Taraweeh at the masjid. He used to do it at home. It is one of his companions who started it to do it at the masjid. And even then, he didn't do it with the group every day during the month of Ramadan. So I think this is really an opportunity to remember those time of the Prophet Muhammad SAW, to remember the time of the companions, that those type of worship, sometimes they are really, what matters is the connection that you are building with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, the community is important. Yes, praying together is important, but to be frank here, to be honest, if I look at all the movement lately, what is happening in the masjid, sometimes it's just a little too much. I'm just being honest. You know, with all the movement, with, you know, sometimes the whatever, the leadership, you know, the fundraisings, you know, when it's come to the last 10 days, all the movement going. So it's like the worship, it's good that the worship mostly in this country to have it public, but I think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding us something during this month. So that's why I don't really see it bad. You know, families are coming back together. They are doing it at home. They are praying together at home. They are eating together at home. You know, many people used to complain because some husbands are not home to pray with their families. They spend all their time at the masjid while they leave their family at home. So this is a type of reconciliation, you know, and also there is that sense of being, you know, sincere in our worship. You know, now you are alone, you are at home, you know, there is no showing off. You are trying to build that relationship with your creator. So that's why I said there is the positive side of it. There is also, you know, I don't call it the negative side of it. So we still call the community, people still talk, but yes, we miss that feeling of being together as a community.
We know that the month of Ramadan is very special to many Muslims, when many of us who don't do much the rest of the year are really, you know, doing whatever they can during Ramadan to follow all the rules. So what are the do's and the don'ts?
Okay, first let's remind that the month of Ramadan is a month of celebration. We are celebrating the Quran. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the way he put it in the Quran, he put kind of more a link between the Quran and Ramadan, because the Quran was revealed during this month of Ramadan. The entire Quran was revealed from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the first heaven during this month, the night of Laylatul Qadr. So the whole month is kind of to celebrate the Quran. So when we talk about do's, the first requirement, the first point that I will really encourage is for each and everyone to reconcile with the Quran. When I say reconciliation, if you didn't touch the Quran for the whole year, this is an opportunity to go back to that book. We know it's not just in Ramadan. This Quran should be really everything for us, should be our guide. You know, we should read it every single day, at least 5 minutes. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us 24 hours, we should take at least 5 minutes in those 24 hours every day, and to know this is our constitution. This is the word of Allah, then read it. So what I will recommend is first to go back to the Quran and try to read it. If you don't speak Arabic, it's okay. Just you can read it in French just to get the meaning. You can read it in English. The best is to learn some Arabic and try to read, even if it is just one surah. So this is the first point. And also, try to be generous in this month of Ramadan. It is said the Prophet ﷺ was generous, but this month he was so generous. So many people I know they give zakat. That's why there are people who wait even the month of Ramadan to give their zakat, because you have two rewards. You have the reward of giving zakat, also you have the reward of feeding people during this month. Mostly this time of crisis, the whole world is in crisis. So this is the best time to feed people. And also, try to dress appropriately, just to respect the month of Ramadan. This is a sacred month. Try to dress appropriately, to talk to people nicely, and also have the intention to fast all 30 days, because then even if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala take your soul during the month, he will reward you of, with your intention. And try your best to pray at night, to pray the best you can. If you can do 4 rakah, do 4. If you can do 8, do 8. If you can do 10, do 10. If you can do 20, do 20. So this is really a time to, when you worship, you get more reward compared to other months. So this is a special month. And also make a lot of dua. You have needs. All of us, we need Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is the time to cry in front of Allah, to pray and to beg and to ask. And also there are some practices that is the sunnah, eat suhoor when you wake up in the morning before Fajr. Some people don't like to eat at night, which is, we can understand, but to practice the sunnah, even if it is a date, even if it is milk, just to, to practice the sunnah, you will be rewarded. So I will remind injection is okay. Some people will wonder, I'm sick, can I take my injection during this month? Yes, as long as it's not a vitamin that you are injecting yourself, it is okay to take an injection. For those also who have asthma, it's okay. And, if you have some difficulties breathing during this month, it is known that what you are inhaling is medication. So this is a gas, it's not food. So you can use your pump. And we know, of course, the dons. Some of those dons is not just for the month of Ramadan, it's for the whole year. But mostly this sacred month, these are things that we need really to avoid. Gossip, lying, cursing, because there are hadiths of the Prophet ﷺ that "Malam yada qawla zuri wa shahadatu zur, falaysa lillahi hajatun fi an yada ta'amu." This hadith is telling us kind of, the Prophet ﷺ said, if you don't give up gossip and lying, or telling lies, or witnessing lies, it's like Allah SWT doesn't care about your fasting. And people have to be very careful. And there is another hadith that even if you meet someone outside who insults you, your answer should be ana sa'im, I'm fasting. It's like controlling your anger, because this is the whole purpose of the month, is discipline. You are trying to learn discipline. So you are trying to develop some type of behaviors that you can continue with after Ramadan. It's not just during Ramadan. So the month is here like a school. It's like you are in a training, 30 days training. You used to smoke, now you can stop smoking 30 days. Maybe after the month of Ramadan, you are used not to smoke. You can keep going. You used to drink, now the month is here, 30 days you didn't drink. Hopefully after Ramadan, you can go without drinking. So that's why I said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Kutiba alaykum siyam kama kutiba ala lazina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun. So hopefully you will attain taqwa after the month of Ramadan. Avoid music. You cannot say that music will nullify your fast, but it will reduce the reward that you will have or avoid also wasting time. Some people, this is not the time to waste your time. This is the time to get closer to your creator. So many people spend the whole day watching movies just to kill the time. This is not the time to kill the time. This is the time to get some benefit and get closer to your creator.
Everybody has a lot of expectation about that night, Laylatul Qadr. Some people are saying it's a particular day during the month. Some others are saying you know, it's one of the days during the 10 last days. So is
Okay.
what is the truth?
Actually, it's, you know, it's very difficult to say, okay, this is the truth. All we can do is always to present the different opinions. At the end of the day, it's only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who knows,
Okay.
you know, the truth. But we can go through different interpretations. You know, what he said that the night of Laylatul Qadr is the night first the Quran was revealed entirely from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the first heaven. And then the Prophet ﷺ received the teaching in 23 years, 10 years in Makkah and then 13 years in Medina. Okay? So now that's a blessed night. A night the Quran was revealed. Also, this is the night of the decree. Muslims believe that that's the night Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will prescribe what will happen during the year. So that's why the expectation is that during that night that you are in a state of worship, that you are worshiping your creator. So that's the night of decree. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will write those people who will you know, die during the year, those people who will get wealth, those people who will get sick, those people who will get, so everything is written down during that night. So now when is the night? Many hadiths, some hadiths are related to it. It is, what is well known is during the old nights in those last 10 days. And when we say the old nights is 21, 23, 25, 27, 29. Okay, so now many people believe also it's the night of the 27. Why? They have their evidence why they said so. If you read the Suratul Qadr, I have to go just back to that surah to tell you one opinion where they base strongly their opinion and they said it's the 27th. You know, only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows, but what they said makes some kind of sense when you read the surah, when you understand Arabic. So when you count, you know, the surah begin, Inna anzalnahu fi laylatil qadr wa ma adraka ma laylatul qadr. Laylatul qadr khayrun min alfi shahr, tanazzalul malaikatu warruhu fiha bi izni rabbihim min kulli amrin salamun hiya hatta matla'il fajr. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, peace be on that night. So they counted the words in this surah, and the words, the pronoun that is referring to that night is the 27 word. So they said, since that coincidence is exactly this pronoun, this surah is talking about that night, and the pronoun that is referring to that night is the word 27, that is not just by coincidence. That is exactly the 27. So, and the 27 is an odd night. So the Prophet ﷺ, but what the Prophet said, seek the night of Laylatul Qadr in the last 10 days of Ramadan. So what he said, it is in the last 10 days. Okay. So in those last 10 days, another hadith said the old nights. And now some did the analysis to say, okay, the night of the 27th. At the end of the day, it's Allah who knows. What is more important is always, you know, to try your best to worship Allah during the whole year, especially during the month of Ramadan, and also especially during the last 10 days, and especially during the old days. Okay, so at the end of the day, that's really what matters.
Any last word for our viewers maybe about being a Muslim?
What I want to remind people first is to understand the whole purpose of Islam is to invite people to do good and avoid evil, to be righteous and to avoid evil. And the Quran is always reminding us that we are visitors, that we belong to Allah. He is the one who created us. He is the one who sent us in this earth. We are here for a short period of time. Everyone will die. So previous generations came and they left. And we are here for another generation, maybe 100 years, and we will be all gone. So what matters the most is always to do good deeds and avoid evil, believing in the one who created you, and try your best, the best you can, to do good and to avoid evil. So that is really kind of the whole message of Islam. The whole message of all the messengers that God sent is always to tell people, be good and avoid evil. And that is good. You know, everybody sometimes knows what is good and everybody knows what is bad. So our soul and our body, they don't belong to us. They are private properties. I can say my body, but it's not really my body. This body has an ownership. There is someone who owns it. And that the one who owns it is the one who is asking me to take care of it. That's why he tells me, don't drink, don't smoke, don't do this, because it will destroy it. And it's not yours, it's a private property. I give it to you. And also the other side, take care of your soul. Take care of your soul. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought the soul from heaven, from himself. And the body came from earth. So that's why he put everything on earth that the body needs, whether luxury, whether food or anything, because the body is coming from earth, and the body will go back to earth, to the earth. So the soul is coming from the Creator. So that's why he sent messengers, he sent revelation that we can use to feed our soul. Our soul doesn't need food. The only food the soul needs is the Creator, is the revelation, is the scripture. So to find a balance in this life, you need to feed both parts. You feed your soul and you feed your body. But if you just focus on feeding your body and then you leave your soul empty, then you will live an imbalanced life. So that is really the message. Be good, help others be good, keep the universe clean and pleasing to the Creator.